So lesson study is a powerful tool of collaborative observation for the reflective practitioner. And what's important for us to think about is how the reflective practitioner shares what is learned from the lesson study process. And there are a number of ways for this. It could be very formally through things like reports and publications, but perhaps it could be more informal through rotating teachers through different grade levels, or just through informal mechanisms in the school. And what we can do is focus on the passing on of that knowledge by remembering that lesson study focuses more on student learning than on teaching. What are the outcomes of teaching? And in this sense, the lesson study has a number of imposing factors, which is down to things like students' needs, as well as the pedagogic approaches used to respond to students' needs. And there's, of course, a demand from the school in terms of the content that needs to be taught and the timetable that an individual teacher is working to. So lesson study is a collaborative process for the teachers, focusing on student learning as a centre of reflection. And so sharing the outcomes of lesson study can be very formal, like in things like reports or publications. And what is important to remember is that this sort of sharing of knowledge is not just about including materials or lesson plans, but there needs to be some sort of reflection there of the discussions around the construction of those lesson plans and the materials, the motivations and the goals behind those, and the intended achievements, and perhaps even the challenges that were expected. It can be useful for the lesson study group to use an outside observer. There are three basic benefits to using an outside observer. The first is that this individual can give a different perspective on the lesson and the achievement of the outcomes in that lesson. And also, the outside observer can provide additional information to the lesson study group and share this work with other session study groups in different schools. Another way to think about sharing the outcomes of lesson study would be through other approaches which can be seen as quite formal. In Japan, they use something called open house. This is where individual teachers are allowed to share their learning with other schools and other lesson study groups, so that good practice is shared around the system. And rotation of teachers is another useful strategy within the school for sharing of experience and practice from lesson study. Perhaps having teachers work at different grade levels within the school can actually help people understand the issues that the group is experiencing. And there can be structural supports in the school itself for teachers in terms of sharing the learning from lesson study. And these can be very simple things, like, for example, the staff room. Teachers being able to sit down in a calm and relaxed environment, drinking tea, can share processes, can share learning from experience. And since the teachers can do this very informally, a lot can be gained from that. So lesson study is a very powerful way and a collaborative, supportive way for the reflective practitioner to develop.